Amanda Wilkins here. This is helper number 1, my youngest daughter Madeline. Helper number 2, my oldest daughter Lillian is behind the camera right now. And we're going to show you how to bake bread from scratch. No bread maker, the old-fashioned way where you have to rise the yeast. So first you need to start with your ingredients. Active dry yeast, you're going to need probably about 2 teaspoons of that. I have the recipe right here. Buttermilk powder, olive oil spray to spray the pans with, salt, but these two are not friends, so don't let them join together, and we'll show you that later in the video. And sugar, and guess what? These two are friends. This helps this to rise with warm water. And the most important ingredient, flour. Doesn't have to be bread flour. All-purpose flour works just fine. So let's get started. Okay, first things first, dry bowl for dry ingredients. So we're going to put 3 1/3 cups flour. So here's 1 and 2, 3 1/3.
Next, we're going to add the dry buttermilk powder, 2 tablespoons.
Next, we're going to add 1 1/4 teaspoon salt to the dry mix. Remember, don't let the salt and the yeast mix. It'll kill the yeast. It's going to murder it. It's going to murder.
The final dry ingredient is 2 tablespoons of sugar.
Last ingredient that we're going to add to the dry mix is 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay, here's the most important part. How to make the yeast rise. It's going to take about 5 minutes. So we have on the stove 1 1/4 cups warm water. We're going to take a little bit of sugar to stir into that warm water, because the sugar is going to feed the yeast. Let it dissolve. Then we're going to pour the warm water into a standing mixer. Then we're going to take 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast. We're not going to pour it in, we're not going to dump it in, we're going to tap it over top. And after you tap the 2 teaspoons into the warm water and sugar, let it stand for about 5 minutes. Gee, what are we going to do for 5 minutes? Yeast has risen. Now, in the standing mixer, we put on the paddle attachment. And we're going to add the dry ingredients. Now we're adding the dry ingredients and the butter to the yeast that has just been rising for 5 minutes. We're going to mix it until all of the ingredients are saturated and together. And then we're going to add the dough attachment. Going to put the hook attachment on. And we are going to knead it on medium in the standing mixer for 5 to 7 minutes. 5 to 7 minutes. Well,
Are you ready to finish the bread now?
Maddie? Yes. 5 to 7 minutes are done. So we are going to take the dough, out of the bottom of the standing mixer. It will stick to your fingers. And we are going to put it in a baking pan. Now, you can use a big baking pan for one ball of dough, or you can split it in two and make 2 small loaves. We are actually going to make one big. We're just going to shape it into a nice little loafy ball. Put it in the pan. I'm going to flip it to get some of the olive oil on both sides so it's nice and shiny. And then I'm putting it on top of the hot stove, which is preheated to 350. Then I'm going to take a towel, run some warm water. This just all helps it rise. Hot water is okay too. Take the towel, wring it out because you don't want it dripping on the bread dough. And then cover up the dough. And let it rise for 30 minutes. Okay, we have let the bread rise in the pan on top of the stove with a nice warm towel on top of it for about 30 minutes. We put it in the oven at 350 for roughly 20-25 minutes, as long as it takes for it to get a nice crispy crust on the outside. Now we're going to pull it out of the oven. This is what it looks like. This is what it sounds like. That's a very important sound. It means it's done on the inside. Now we're going to do what we call sweating the bread. That's where we take every mitt that we have in the house and we put it on top. Sweating the bread ensures that it's nice and soft on the inside and crispy crunchy on the outside. So you sweat this like this for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe a half an hour, as long as you want. If you forget about it, it's not a big deal. Then take it out of the pan, wrap it in cellophane wrap, nice and tightly, couple layers, for another couple hours, maybe the rest of the evening. Again, if you forget about it, not a big deal. And then voila, you have made bread. You can slice it as thin as thick as you want. Sandwich bread. Thank you for joining the Wilkins clan for our very first tutorial on how to make bread.